Anxiety. This is part two of the video. I just wanted to wrap that up and then I can put them out together for you because I think that you'd rather hear all of this in one and it'll be more useful to you. I've made a few notes around the subject just so I don't forget to tell you anything important. Of course, the best way of dealing with anxiety is to meet something on my tongue, to meet the roots of it. And, to go back to in early life, how you develop this overmanagement system of your brain based on feelings of overwhelm or certainly not being good enough, not being seen, not being heard, feeling judged, etc. It will come from that. And by far the best way is to meet those feelings. And there's more videos out on how you can do that. So please have a look at my YouTube channel. By all means, go ahead, subscribe if you feel moved to. There's a library of information there, or you can read my posts on social media, on Instagram or Facebook. I often cover these subjects there. But let me get back to the specifics. I made some notes. So I talked about these are things to help you when you're feeling really anxious. So one thing I learned years ago, which was really beneficial, is just if you're feeling panicked, put your wrists under cold water. It's a very simple thing, but it immediately cools you. Obviously, when you're feeling anxious, your heart rate increases and your body temperature rises and it just brings you to a focus on a physical sensation, as I talked about in the last video when I got you to focus on your senses and suggested that that was a way of dealing with it. Go the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique, where you use each sense, 5 of one sense, 4 of another, 3 of a different sense, and you use that to focus yourself on the present moment. Well, this kind of goes in line with that, but it's a little bit simpler. If you put your wrists under cool water, it focuses you on the sensation of that, and it calms you, and it can give you just a little bit of space in order to breathe, which is always going to be something you should do if you're feeling anxiety, and just to bring yourself into presence, into this present moment. The other thing I talked about is ask yourself where this is coming from. Ask yourself internally, knowing that it is coming from the inner child. Ask yourself, where is this coming from and what are you feeling? You're speaking to your inner child. You're speaking to an aspect of yourself. So what are you feeling? A lot of the time, well, you know what? Not even a lot of the time. 100% of the time, the inner child is trying to be heard. The aspect of yourself that is holding on to these feelings, I call it the inner child, that aspect of you is just wanting you to meet it. And so we build it up into a huge thing. And these feelings run away from us in our mind, and we kind of create a whole scenario around it. But actually, all it's asking for is to be heard with acceptance, without any judgment at all, to just meet it. So ask yourself, what am I feeling? And meet it if you can. By far, that is the most effective way. I'm suggesting as well that if you're prone to this and you're going into a situation where you're feeling really anxious, it's not necessarily helpful to be drinking coffee. That can increase feelings of anxiety in a situation like that. I wouldn't even recommend that alcohol is a great thing. I know it's a really popular way of people finding a certain courage, but I actually think it can be counterproductive. Entirely up to you how you move with that, but coffee and alcohol. The biggest thing I could say is to not suppress yourself. So let me explain that. So this is coming from a part of you that doesn't feel seen and heard. And so one of the ways to be able to move through this is to actually allow yourself to speak your truth. Now you can say, no, but I'm feeling anxiety and that stops me from being able to do it. That's not what's stopping you, actually. So it's an overmanagement system of the brain, and you have an attachment to this, or rather it is attached to being present in your consciousness because it's been serving you, and you fear loss if you don't follow that kind of, what is it? It's like I don't even know what to call it. It's like a mechanism almost. If you don't let that mechanism mitigate or reduce the potential for not being accepted or not being loved, and you run the scenarios in your mind, then you won't get what you think you're seeking, but you're not ever going to get it from an external anyway. It does not come from any outer source. No matter how much you even if, just imagine this, and I talk about this a lot, imagine that you got a lot of approval externally, you had a lot of people saying amazing things about you, and you have these feelings of not good enough. And okay, so you've got all that. Do you think you've actually achieved what you wanted? Okay, that wasn't rhetorical, so send me your answers. I'm really curious. At the end of this video, I'm going to give you an answer about whether you achieve what you think you wanted when you get a lot of approval externally. In the meantime, if you can find a way to just short circuit that mechanism, and I know it can be done because I've recommended it to people and they've actually done it. Literally, you can make a decision in the moment. This is a situation of free will, and you can decide not to engage with that particular mechanism. So as it starts running, you're aware of it, you're observing it, you've maybe tried some of these things, you're definitely taking a deep breath, and you can just decide to deal with it differently. And you can say what you really feel. The trick to that one is don't be attached to how it's received. Don't be attached to an outcome. And that takes a bit of practice, but without the attachment to the outcome, then it truly becomes about you expressing you, and it has nothing to do with how someone else responds, and it means you've detached from an external source for approval. That can help a lot, and doing that repeatedly, it will become more habitual for you, and it will start to free up some of this tightness. The reason I have equated anxiety as being a lot like the clouds in the sky, or that's what I decided today anyway, is that what we tend to do is we see a cloud in our consciousness, a little anxious thought or whatever, and then other clouds gather with that, and it becomes a mass of kind of dense energy. But actually, today was really a brilliant example of the movement of our emotions and how we don't need to attach to them unless we want to. And so this gives us the opportunity to meet our feelings profoundly, and also if they come up, all of these things, they're just little pointers to help you be able to create space so that you can start to go to the very root of where this comes from. So I think that can all be really helpful. If you have any questions, by all means, get in touch with me. I'm happy to answer them at any time. Send me your ideas. I always suggest that. And again, you can there's a whole library of videos on YouTube that I've created on my channel. You'll find the link if you are on Instagram following me, then you'll find a link in my bio to take you to my website. And there, all my social media links are there. And also on Facebook, you'll find the link to my YouTube channel. You can go ahead and have a listen. And I've deliberately created that to support situations like this. I hope that this helps you. Let me know how you get on.